This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Sunset Safari, where we'll be dedicating the first 45 minutes of the show to all the wonderful children from across the globe. So please remember to send your questions through to kidssquestions@wildearth.tv. And the rest of you, if you want to send them on through already, that's fine. Hopefully we'll get to your questions a little bit later. But we are sitting at Pridelands at Leopard Dam, which is very productive. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Gert. And we just had some elephants that were swimming, but they couldn't wait to get out of the pool this afternoon. They weren't wanting to stick around for the show, but I'm sure we'll catch up with them later. And there's another big elephant that we're going to go and find as well this afternoon. But there is one animal that stuck around at Leopard Dam, and that is an Egyptian goose. Look at it. Just standing on the smallest log in the middle of the dam. And I think that's quite a clever spot to sit. When you're out in the middle of the water like that, you have very few things that might want to try and eat you. But maybe there's a crocodile lurking in the murky water, so it better be careful. And there are also lots of big birds of prey that fly around in this area, so it's still got to be quite careful. But it just means that there are no cats, no lions, no leopards, no serval, African wildcat or caracal that'll be able to catch it out there, because they don't really like to get wet. But it's having an afternoon snooze, a little siesta. And I wonder where its mate is, because they normally live in pairs. And every time we have come to this dam, we see two of them. Maybe the other one's had enough sun for the afternoon and has gone back into the shade. But we're here at Leopard Dam for a number of reasons, not just for this Egyptian goose. Like I said, the elephants like to come down here. This morning we had a glimpse of a lioness that was chasing around some giraffe and zebra. So hopefully she's still lying up somewhere. We will have a quick look around for her. And then there was a really big elephant that came down and had a drink at the dam. And I want to try and catch up with him. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to turn around and we're going to head towards the big open plains that we've spent many mornings at. Because I think that a really big, famous elephant bull was headed in that direction. So what we will do, we are going to head in that direction. But Tswalu is also on drive this afternoon, and it sounds like she's found something else that's grey and quite large.
Yes, I am, and we've managed to find some elephants. They're not very close to the road, so obstructed by a few trees. But I'm pretty happy to start off drive with some ellies. For me, that's good luck, I think. This is quite a big cow. She's got a youngster just tucking its trunk underneath there. Gorgeous. Now I'm actually going to sit here for a little while and hope that they'll walk through this way, because they seem to be heading in the direction of the car. But like I said, they're still quite into that bush. Hopefully they will move this way. You can see it's still windy, guys. It's very warm out here in June at 30 degrees Celsius, 86 degrees Fahrenheit. So lots of the predators will be lying up in bits of shade. So it means that BK and I have got to have extra sharp eyes this afternoon and check out all those shady spots. And the elephants, they'll be looking for bits of water and possibly spending some time in the Mulwati too. Stunning. Hello everyone, it's me, this is my face, it's Tswalu, and I've got BK on camera this afternoon, and he's now laughing behind the camera because he forgot to show you my face. But the elephants were just so lovely, and they're starting to walk in our direction. Now, welcome aboard all the kiddies. I'm sure you know how to send through your questions. Hi, Jasper. You're 7 years old from England. You'd like to know, well, how long does an elephant live for? An elephant's a very large creature, and large creatures tend to live for quite a while. In fact, elephants can live anything between 50 and 70 years. 60 is about the average. They're very big. They have large social networks and families. And the more experience they have, the better survival they actually have. Oh, Sienna, you're 7 years old and you're from the UK. You'd like to know how big are elephants compared to humans? Well, Sienna, I'll compare the elephant to me. So I am a human, as you may know, and I am about 1.58 centimeters tall. That's not very tall at all, to be honest. But I'm happy with my height. That's a side issue. Anyway, I weigh about 48, let's say 50 kgs. An elephant weighs, a fully grown elephant, so I'm an adult elephant, adult cow, is about 3 meters tall, about 2.5 to 3 meters tall. That's double my height when she's fully grown. And her weight is about 3 to 4 tons. That's thousands, so 3 to 4,000 kgs. That's many, many more kgs than I weigh. Remember, they're the largest land mammal. Can you see they're all flapping their ears? Now that's going to help them keep cool. When I was little, and I'm sure lots of children around the world, think that when the elephants flap their ears like this, that they're actually a little bit angry. And sometimes it can make you a little scared. And I remember the first time I'd seen an elephant and it was flapping its ears like that, and I was very scared. But in fact, all they're doing is trying to cool themselves down. Now, if you had big old ears like that and you started to flap them, don't you think you'd get a nice breeze going? You may look a little bit odd, but you'd definitely be cooler. And they have really thick and big veins and blood vessels on that ear. And all the blood moves through the ear in about 20 minutes, so the blood can get cooled down and then go through the rest of the body. When they're cold, those ears are stuck against their body and they won't be opening them out like this. Hi, Robin, you're 7 years old and from the UK. You'd like to know, why does an elephant have such a long trunk? Well, a trunk is something that's very unique to an elephant. So what is a trunk? A trunk is your nose. So if you put your one finger on your nose and the other finger on your top lip and push them together, and then you will sound a little funny like I do right now. And that is a trunk. So they breathe through it, and it also makes their upper lip. Now, this elephant that's closest to us here is going to show us why it's important to have a trunk that is long. If it was short, it would still work, but it would work better if it were long, because that means it can reach the top of trees, it can pluck fruit, it can pluck all the juicy leaves, just like this. And the trunk is not just a floppy thing that it has no control of. It has very much control over it, almost like your arm. And at the end of it, it's got two things that look like fingers to grab with. Max, you'd like to know how much food does an elephant eat in a day? An elephant can eat anything from about 150 kgs to 300 kgs of food. That is a lot. That's why whenever we see them, they're always eating, always feeding. And of course, if they're eating that much, it means that they are also pooing that much. And that's why you see elephant dung all over the place. Aren't they just very peaceful? I love spending time with them. Hi, Harriet. You're 4 years old and you'd like to know, why are elephants gray? Now, I don't know why they're gray, but we must think about it. Gray seems to be a really good color in the bush. Now, if we look at the branches on the large trees, I know when we draw trees in our coloring books, we always color in those branches brown. But most branches of trees out here are gray. So if you're an elephant and you're a very large creature, and you can be seen very obviously if, say, you were yellow, wouldn't it be really nice to be a color that matches your environment? And gray would be a good color for that. Out of all the colors that you could wear out in the bush to blend in and to camouflage, I think gray is the best one. That's why I think that elephants really have got it down. It's very difficult to see them if they're far away and there's branches up, all gray. It's very difficult to see them. Hi, Joshua. You'd like to know, what is the biggest animal out here? You're looking right at it. The elephant is the largest animal we have out here. In fact, it's the largest animal on land, period. I think they are spectacular animals. I'm going to reverse a little bit so we can just have a look at these guys here. Hi, Harriet. You're 4 years old, and you wanted to know, why do they flap their ears? Now, I know that they do look like wings sometimes, Harriet. Maybe that's why you asked like that, and I think they do look like wings sometimes. Sometimes it looks like they could flap so hard they could just lift off, but those are, in fact, it's large ears, and they're flapping like that so that they can keep cool. Like if you had two big fans, like the Chinese type fans, and you started to flap it near your face, it would create a lot of air, and then that air flows over the ears where the skin is very, very thin. And so it can cool down the elephant's body. Now, your ears also have very thin skin on them. That's why when you stand out in the sun, they get very warm. And when you're in the cold, they get very cold. And if you warm your ears up, it can warm you up as well. Because the skin is so thin that it's easy for the blood that's underneath to get warm or to cool down quickly, depending on what the elephant does. So when it's hot, we can do a few things. We can change our behavior. We can decide to move away from the sun and into a spot of shade. We can do things like take off our jacket if we're too hot. Or we can sweat. That's a physiological thing, but elephants can't do that, so they have to use their ears to keep nice and cool. All right, Steve is also out on Juma, so let's go over to say good afternoon, and I'm going to stick around with these Ellies.
Good afternoon, boys and girls, and welcome to my vehicle. My name is Steve, joined by Darcy Donkhammer, and we're very excited to have you with us. As I'm sure Trish has told you, please send through any questions that you have to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. We'd love to answer them. Now, we're out at about, Darby, I don't know if it's going to move, but exactly at your 9. Oopsie, it was a daker. They were almost impossible to get on camera, dakers. It's a small antelope. It's one of our leopard's favorite meals. Okay, well, while we go and figure out what we're going to get up to this afternoon, let's send you over to Taylor at Pryden. She's got a big elephant ball.
Look at who we've got here. I just want to give this beautiful big elephant some space, because we haven't really got much road on either side of us. It's quite thick, sorry everybody. So I'm just trying to reverse through this drainage line that I'm going through. It's like a little dip. And then we'll sit on top over here and watch him come towards us. How does that sound? And then I shall probably reverse again and give him some more space. There's not really enough place for him to pass us, or for me to pull off the road very nicely, like I'd want to pull off the road. So it should open up sooner or later. But this is Ezulwini. Now, young Robin, hello boy. This is a gentle giant, this elephant. So like I said, he's got a name. He's one of the most famous elephants of the Greater Kruger. Sometimes, yes, you do get nervous of the animals coming so close. I'm going to probably not look at you very much because I do need to focus on reversing. Like I said, it's quite nice to have him walking towards us, but I don't have any place to pull off right now. He's going to do a shortcut here. That's fantastic. So you have to be very careful, Robin. You need to have a healthy respect for the animals, and you don't need to get close to them all the time. This is a gentle giant, this elephant, and he's known to come right up to the cars. So we don't have to be scared of him. But because I didn't have enough space on the road, I thought that it would be nice for an elephant of this side, and he's been on this earth for a very long time, that he gets right of way. Well, all the animals get the right of way. But look at his huge tusks. He's enormous. Robin, isn't this just the biggest elephant that you've ever seen? He's definitely one of the biggest elephants I've ever seen. And I've been lucky and I've seen lots of them. This is so cool. Now, I'm really excited because he is going towards Leopard Dam, where we started the show. Okay, I'm going to now need to do a maneuver and turn around. There's also these flies that are buzzing in my ears. Actually, they're not flies, they're little bees. So I'm going to turn around here. I think I can sneak in and then we'll get a view of him again. We'll go back onto the road. We'll play catch-up. Never have I ever played catch-up with a big elephant like this. This is really cool. Okay, let me go back onto the road. Sorry, Kat, we're doing lots of maneuvers today, but it's very much worth it. We'll get such a nice view of him now. So, I don't actually know if we've ever seen a big elephant like this before. Okay, I'm going to park up here. And we can watch him walk away from us. Even the rear end of an elephant can be quite impressive at times. Chelsea, elephants like to eat lots of different plants. So at the moment, they're not really eating too much grass because it's all yellow and it doesn't taste as nice as it did when it was green. It also doesn't have as many nutrients in it anymore. So they're kind of moving away from grass now. But elephants do eat a lot of it, and they're eating lots of leaves. They eat fruit. They'll dig up the roots of the trees. If there are any bulbs, they'll eat those too. They literally eat all types of vegetation. So any type of plant, except the really, really poisonous stuff they'll probably keep away from. But we're going to follow Ezulwini towards Leopard Dam, and hopefully he'll swim for us. Off you go across to Ngala, and Sean has got some hyena.
Okay, good afternoon everybody. Welcome to our sunset safari here at and beyond Ngala. We'll get to introductions shortly. You can see what hyena here is just about to disappear into the distance there. So this is a female now. We were just chatting, myself, Sean, and we got Odie behind the camera. And we were chatting now. We think that hyena was a female. She had what looked to be swollen teats. So we think she's either heavily pregnant or she is lactating and she already has some cubs. And we're thinking it's very possible that she's heading back towards the den. Now, unfortunately, we don't know of a den inside of there, so we're not going to follow her into that area. You know, maybe tomorrow when we go off on foot we can track into there, but we're not going to drive into there and disturb anything because we're not sure what's actually happening. We're just hypothesizing at the moment. But what we were doing over here before the hyena came along was actually looking at an elephant. Now I know Taylor just had a big tusker. It's very, very cool to see those. Such big tusks, beautiful animals. Ours does not seem to be a tusker, but still a very beautiful looking elephant. Just going to see if we can find him. Now you'll notice where we are at the moment, you'll see as we sort of turn off the road here, is a very big open area. So this is what we refer to as Buffalo Flats. That's the name we've given this area. And the elephant was off to our right. Now you'll be surprised. Oh, there he is. Okay, so he hasn't gone too far. Now let's look. We'll go in there. How quickly they disappear. I think it was this morning actually. Steve might have had a herd of elephants at Juma that just disappeared into the trees. And it's impressive how quickly you can lose a herd of elephants. You know, even though they are such big animals, you give them, like this, look in front of us. There's an elephant, just there. It's maybe 100 meters from us. And there's actually a big one way down there, maybe 700 meters away from us. In the far distance, there's another elephant. But we are not going to that one. That one's actually not on and beyond Ngala. It is outside of our boundary. Because that tree line just in front of us. Now let's see where we're going to look at this elephant. And OD, you might, I can't go too far. Okay, Rory, 7-year-old Rory wants to know what animals hunt elephants. Now Rory, very few animals hunt elephants. You'll see now, you look at this elephant right here. OD, can you get him there? Rory, look how big it is. A very big animal. And one sort of that size, even a pride of lions will struggle to bring down an elephant of that sort of size. They also got very thick skin. We're going to wait here. I think the elephant's going to move into the open now. Actually, we're going to go forward. So, Rory, I have heard of a few situations. Let's say maybe 3 situations, Rory, where a pride of lions have taken down a young elephant. I know one happened, I think it was up in Botswana, where a pride of 32 or 34 lions took down a young male elephant, slightly smaller than this one. I watched it on one of David Attenborough's documentaries. So Rory, a very big pride of lions. The only thing that would take down an elephant. You must also remember, very thick skin. On this elephant, sometimes his skin can be up to 3-4 centimeters thick. So you got to have a very powerful jaws to break through the skin, which is that thick. So generally, even if an elephant dies, let's say of old age, lions will struggle to break into the actual carcass. You'll most likely find hyenas will come first, and they will rip open the carcass because they've got very strong jaws, and then lions will come and take over and eat from there. If you were watching Rowan's drive yesterday, we were watching those vultures eating the impala, and he also got a similar question. The vultures are not strong enough, and they'll wait for another animal to come in, and then they'll scavenge. So the same thing would happen with an elephant. But beautiful animals, very majestic, the elephants, very quiet, very methodical. Everything's very purposeful. You can see where it's going. Look inside all of those trees. Plenty food for that elephant, plenty shade. Okay, 6-year-old Eloise. Yes, some elephants do sleep standing up. It depends generally on their age. So a lot of the baby elephants, or the young ones, I'd say probably close on 7, 8, 10 years and below, can sleep lying down. They'll just lie down when the herd stops, and they will sleep like that. I have seen one slightly bigger than that elephant disappearing. I have seen a big male lying down and sleeping. But generally, Eloise, the adults will sleep standing up. They will lean against a tree, lean against a termite mound, and they will just sleep like that. It's a lot of effort for one of these elephants to lie down and stand back up again. So you can see this guy, fantastic little view of him, but now he's gone into those trees, crossing out of and beyond Ngala. So while we watch him disappear, we are going to send you back across towards Taylor with her big elephant that is now in the water.
That's exactly what we're doing, and our elephant is not ready to have a snooze just yet. But Ezulwini has decided that he needs to cool off. Honestly, I don't think I've ever seen such a big tusker, because that's what we would call this elephant, with very large tusks. A tusker. I don't think I've ever seen a fellow of his size swimming before. This is amazing. He's also having a drink. Look at him as he just pushes on into the water. This is fantastic. I hope he stays there and doesn't go too much deeper, because we have a tree in front of us, which means we'll have to reposition. But this is still a gorgeous view. Now, I hope that you are all taking lovely screenshots of this moment. Remember to share them. #WildEarth. Harriet, what a lovely question. Now, as you've obviously heard, this elephant is called Ezulwini, and I'm not sure how they chose his name, but his name has got an incredible meaning. It means from heaven. And he is honestly, he's a lovely boy. He's got an incredible nature. There are many articles that have been written about this elephant in the Greater Kruger National Park. He's a firm favorite amongst all the guides and all the guests that get to see him. So I think they maybe name them after their personalities, maybe something like that. That's how I would name him. And if an elephant could be perfect, I think that Ezulwini is close to being perfect. Such a peaceful moment as well. It's very windy today. You can see all the trees blowing in the background. Lara, now it's quite difficult to see where the elephant's heart is located, but it's in the inside, sort of between their shoulders somewhere in between. Maybe we can find a diagram on the internet and I can show you that way. And we can have a look at like that. And I don't know if I'm going to have to move. I don't know how long he's going to stay in this position. We've just got a little sickle bush that you can see on the right-hand side of the screen. That's literally right in front of the vehicle, but maybe he'll push on past it. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt and see if he does move through quite swiftly. Come on, Ezulwini. The light is so nice now and so many people want to see you. Is he going to stay like that? Maybe for just a moment. Right, would you like me to go back? Let me reverse quickly. Sorry, everybody. Ooh, not into the dam. That would be disastrous. I almost went forward there. Okay, there we go. That's a better gap of him. I can see. He doesn't make this dam look very deep at all. Now, another elephant bull that we have been seeing almost every single day, and I saw him. He came to visit us at the eco training camp. He was swimming around in Ndlovu Dam, and he's nowhere near the size of this elephant. If you had to put the two of them together, it would be like Kumo was a dwarf elephant and, well, Ezulwini was a big elephant. That's the size difference, and not just in their body size, but also in their tusk size. But unfortunately, there isn't many of these big elephants left in South Africa. If you go up to East Africa and to Tanzania and Kenya, you can still see some big tuskers too, and there are a few more roaming around in the Kruger National Park in this big ecosystem. But this fella, he walks a fair few kilometers and moves around all the time. And I've just heard so much about him and seen so many pictures, so it's really nice to finally meet him. I'm sure it would be amazing to actually see him swimming. So he's just standing at the moment. So that water must be about a meter, just meters or so deep, so not very deep. It'll probably come up to my waist. Maybe even a little bit more than that. But it was really cool to see. The pictures of him don't do him justice until you see him in person, to see how his tusks almost touch the ground. He looks like he's just blowing bubbles now. No, your trunk is just above the water. Now, Artan, who's all the way from Saudi Arabia, it's so good to have your question this afternoon. The tusks of an elephant can get exceptionally large, and I think that this elephant's tusks must be 2 meters or more, maybe even a little bit more, because you actually can't see all the tusk. There's a lot of it that's, you see where the folds of skin meet the base of the tusks, there's still quite a bit of tusk all the way up into the what would be the trunk. So maybe they're even bigger than that, but I don't know if his tusks have been measured before. There he is, stretching his trunk out. He's not really drinking much though. He's kind of just stirring the water around at the moment. He's smelling the air. It must be so refreshing. So elephants really need water to help cool themselves down. And there's been so many studies done on elephants. And once that area reaches a certain temperature, they actually rely on water cooling themselves down. So I think it is in sort of South Africa, an average elephant needs about 20 liters or so every day to cool himself with water. So not only are they drinking over 100 liters of water a day, some of that water has got to be splashed on their bodies. And then when you head up to places like Namibia, where it's much hotter, their elephants will have to splash about over 100 liters of water all over their bodies to help with the evaporation, so to help with the cooling system, which is quite cool. But we're not going to go anywhere. We're going to sit with this big elephant and see if he does swim for us, or if you go to Trishala to see what she's up to.
Yes, it is all around. Now, our herd is not very big. There's about 3 large females and 1 very little calf, and the others look like they're about 3, I'd say 2 to 4 years old. I saw one that looked like it was about 3. Smallish herd, very calm, and just enjoying what's still green. The buffalo thorns are still very, very green. But those plants can be quite nasty. They've got thorns all over. But elephants have tough skin. And that tough skin can withstand any punctures from a thorn. It's a buffalo thorn that's near it. And it's absolutely fine. I've been caught in a buffalo thorn before, and it's very painful, and I really didn't like it, and I needed help to get out of it because the thorns were poking me all over the place, and they have hooked thorns too. But see, this little Ellie is doing just fine. They look like they're heading towards the dam, Waterhole Dam. I'm sure in about 20 minutes or so, they'll be down that side. So as you learned earlier, elephants love water. They love to splash themselves, especially when it's hot like this. Hi, Max. You'd like to know, how do we get so close to the animals without scaring them? That's a really good question, and I'm glad that you asked it like that, because it's not about whether we get scared by being close to animals, but are we going to scare them? And I think that's really important that you think that way. They're very used to us. So by being used to us and knowing that we're not a threat, because what scares animals? Thinking that something is a threat and they're going to get hurt. If something is not a threat, then they feel comfortable. So with our animals here, they are very used to having vehicles around. So they don't think that we are a threat. And they don't feel that we are a threat. And when they do come too close and we talk to them, and they listen to our voices, because remember, if I was a predator and I was a threat, I'd try to be very quiet and be sneaky. But I'm not. So I want to let them know I'm here and I'm your friend and I'm not a threat. And then eventually they get used to the sound of human voices, the sounds of vehicles, and the shape of this vehicle. And then they don't get scared anymore. But sometimes if there's little babies that are not used to the sounds and smells and sights of us yet, then they can get a bit of a shock when we start the vehicle up or anything like that. But as long as they see the adults happy and comfortable, then they become that way too. And there you saw Steve drive by in the background. I think I might come back towards some of the watering holes a little bit later, and hopefully I'll find some elephants. But I'm going to go to a very big watering hole now. It's called Chitwa, and I'll see you when I'm there. But I'm going to send you back over to Taylor and her tusker in the water.
It's us again, and of course, as you can imagine, we haven't moved. We've actually just changed up the angle slightly, and we're sitting quite high up on not the dam wall, but sort of a rise. Look at this view that we have. And it's actually a very pretty angle with the knobthorn and all the buffalo weaver nests and the elephants and all the green trees and plants surrounding the dam. You can also see how much greener it is when the trees are closer to water. And then you've also seen how dry it is as soon as we move away. I just think it's lovely that all the other elephants have decided to give this giant lots of space. Pranav, all the way from India, yes, elephants can survive with one single tusk. There's even, and it's quite common with female elephants in South Africa, to have no tusks at all. Now, it wouldn't be great for them to not have any tusks, because they use those and sizes for, well, they obviously are teeth, but they use them in a different way that we use our teeth, or that elephants use their molars. So remember, they in this environment, especially up here in the Greater Kruger region, where our winters are very, very dry and we get almost no rain. Sometimes we get the odd splash, the odd drizzle. But then elephants' diet has to change, and a lot of it requires them to use their tusks to strip bark from trees or to loosen roots. And then, of course, elephants will also dig for water, and they struggle to do that just with their feet and their trunks. They'll often use their tusks and dig them down into the sand and loosen it up, and then they'll scoop it out with their trunk and throw that sort of sand away. So tusks are very important for elephants, and for a male elephant, very much so for fighting. So one single tusk for a male elephant, maybe he could be more dangerous. It's like he's using a sword. And you sort of one very sharp point, but he'll be able to survive. And I think a male elephant with no tusks, I don't think he'd be a particularly good breeding bull, because I don't think he'd be able to hold himself in a fight, but he'd still be able to survive. So it just might mean that he wouldn't have many children running around, because the other bigger, stronger bulls with tusks will probably beat him up a little bit, but he'll definitely still be able to survive. And it's been proven. We see, like I said, elephants with one tusk or no tusks or broken tusks fairly often. It seems as though I need to reposition just a little bit. I think if I go forward... Sorry, he's playing this game of hide and seek. I'm going to hopefully try not drive over anything in front of my car. Is that a bit better? There we go. Sorry again for all the moving around, but of course when the animals move, so do we. It almost looks like that branch is touching his back, but that's just an optical illusion. That tree is much closer to us, and the elephant is a few meters behind it. He's just enjoying himself. He's just having the best time. And you saw he was all by himself. He's not worried about having any friends by his side. Although I'm sure he gets lots of young elephants following him. Now, Max, there are lots and lots of animals that are endangered or vulnerable in South Africa, where, elephants are definitely one of them. Then there's vultures. We were looking at vultures this morning. Then African wild dogs, pangolin, which you were lucky enough to see at Tswalu the other day. Oh my goodness, rhinos. I can go on and on and on. I don't know exactly how many numbers off the top of my head, but maybe someone can help me and they can figure it out. Maybe they can jump onto Google and find out how many endangered creatures we have, because it's not just the big animals either. There's probably some types of rats and mice, or even some frog species, like I think it's the western leopard toad I know is endangered. There's a whole bunch of different things, some butterflies and all sorts of other insects that are probably endangered too. So I bet it's going to be quite a high number, which does make me a little bit sad to say that. He's coming out slowly. Looks like it's got a little bit deeper where he walked. I like that, the look that he's got there. It's like he's wearing a mask now, where the water has gone over his trunk. I think he's going to come out exactly where we parked. It's actually, you see how deep it was. I mean, he's obviously an enormous elephant. Maybe for some of those younger bulls we've seen, the water would have come almost halfway across their bodies. He doesn't want to have a proper swim, though. He's quite happy just to have a quick dip in the pool. Wow. There are apparently, thank you very much for this, 281 species of animals in South Africa that are endangered. That is a very, very sad thing. I'm going to try and roll forward for you, Kat. Whoop. No, go, go, go. How's that, Kat? Better? Still got a few branches behind it, but I think it is better than what it was. So that's very, very sad to hear. But humans are doing whatever they can, especially in this time, to try and save as many animal species as they can. So that's why it's very important to talk to your friends and your family about these things. Okay, I need to reverse now because he's hiding behind all the bushes. My favorite thing to do on safari is to reverse. Should just do safaris backwards all day long. Well, I don't think I'm very good at it. Ooh. So Todd has a very good question. He's from St. Ronan's School. We're going to get a lovely view of this elephant now. And you've asked, what is the best way to help with conservation? You know, the best thing you can do without having to give any money at all is just to talk about the problems and educate people that way and acknowledge that there are problems and what are we going to do to fix them. Especially all the young minds, all of you watching, you need to start thinking of how are we going to preserve wildlife and save it, because your ideas will be new and fresh, and obviously there are scientists all over the world trying to figure these kinds of things out, and then maybe think of going into a career like zoology or wildlife conservation or becoming a marine biologist. You know, those are very important careers to look at. Not everybody has to be a doctor and a lawyer. And I think sometimes people forget about the wildlife. But hopefully all of you are watching are inspired by all of us as safari guides, because it's one of the coolest jobs in the world. I mean, I get to hang out with Ezulwini. How awesome is that? On this Thursday afternoon. I say that and I hope that it's Thursday because I never know what day of the week it is. Oh, he's stretching up. That leadwood tree doesn't look very big. With him standing next to it. You can actually see where all the other elephants have rubbed up against the trees. Can you see, especially the one on the right-hand side? There's some mud. And if he were to go and rub up there, his head is going to be much higher, and his shoulders are going to be much higher than that. It just goes to show how lucky we are to see him. He does pop around every now and then, but he doesn't live here permanently. He's a roamer. He just roams around wherever he pleases. Well, thank you all the lovely children that have joined us for the first 45 minutes of the show, but it has come to an end. But you can still send us your questions. We'd still love to hear from you throughout the drive. And we are ready to take on everyone else's questions now. So just remember to hashtag WildEarth if you are going to be using Twitter, and comment away, of course, on YouTube and the other social media feeds. Wow, he is a real giant, this elephant. Look at that. That is a great size comparison. It's actually really cool to see all that mud scraped up on the tree. I wish he would have rubbed and left a sort of new mark, so we just could have seen exactly how tall he is. Oh, there he goes. Nice waterline as he's put his trousers on. And off he goes. I'd love to hear from you. I'm not sure if this is the biggest tusker that we've ever seen on Wild Earth before. Perhaps you can let us know. We can, yay or nay on Twitter or any of those things. Like I said, hashtag Wild Earth. I'm going to just drive forward a little bit, and then I'm going to probably just move out a little bit, and I'll tell you why. I know we've had an amazing sighting and we want to spend all day with this elephant, but there are students that are doing their assessment drives now to become apprenticeship field guide, and I think this is a great opportunity again for them to see a big tusker like this and to tell their guests all about this elephant, and then hopefully, like I would always say, this is the next generation of safari guides that are being trained at the moment and doing their assessments. And I have just heard another vehicle coming around the dam, so I don't want to hog this amazing sighting before he disappears. Here we go. This will be our last view. Wow, Nadia, that's fantastic that you and your sister want to become wildlife vets. That's also what I always wanted to do. So you definitely should do that. And yes, you will be helping conservation. Man, there are some incredible things that you can do, like relocation of elephants, and the same thing goes with wild dogs and lions. There's so much of that being done at the moment. Can you imagine flying in a small aeroplane with a couple of lionesses or a pack of wild dogs and dropping them off and spreading the genetics? That's really cool. So Nadia, I'll remember your name, And in a couple years' time, if I meet or I hear of a Nadia that's a wildlife vet, then I know that it is you and that you've been watching Wild Earth. So that's good to know. But I think we're going to say goodbye to this elephant and we're going to carry on. Like I said, he's moving into a much thicker area now. But what a fantastic sight. And I hope that he spends a few more days on Pridelands. Right, off you go back to Juma and to Steve, who seems to be playing around in a riverbed.
Good afternoon once again, everybody, and welcome to the Mulwati drainage system. My name once again is Steve, joined over there by Darisita. And we have been driving around trying to find some tracks. We found tracks of a lioness right now, and you can, not easy to see, but in the vehicle track there's this disturbance, which is quite easy to see in the thing as well, but it's not always easy to see what track it is. But leopard, quite small, lion, much bigger. Remember, the leopard takes up about the size of the knife. This is all the way over there. Bearing in mind the soft sand makes it a lot bigger, but this is definitely a lioness, and it's probably that lioness that stole the food from Thandi the other day. Been trying to figure out where she went to. She went that way, and I have a feeling she met up with the pride, because yesterday morning there was tracks of majority of the pride minus cubs came in from the south and went out again. Now we'll just follow this for a little bit. They actually came in, and Chelapan, which is just up here, it's a very nice sort of drinking hole. They went there and then went out again. They did not come back on this morning. So, see what we can do. But we're going to try and put in some more effort to see whereabouts the Queen Thandi has possibly gone to with her cub. We did a bit of work this morning on those tracks, but we weren't able to find anything fresh from yesterday. But there's one more road I'd like to check. The purpose of tracking a leopardess in an area like that is that she will leave her cub and she will move out, or she'll take her cub out. So by driving around that block, you disturb the ground, you destroy whatever tracks are there, and then if she does come out and you know when you were there, there's a much better chance of you finding them. So repetition in the search is quite important. And there's this drainage system on our right here that Thandi denned in. I think she denned the last litter. I think this one as well that she just had was also done here. But just along this drainage system is a very popular area for her. She was born in one of these systems here, and majority of her cubs have been born here as well. So she knows it's a successful place, and so she often goes back to it. Okay, so we've checked this morning. Well, we did check this morning, didn't we, Darby?
I think so.
Oh, we did. We definitely did. And there was nothing coming out. So if we find tracks on top of our vehicle, if it's Thandi going out and back in again, well, that is exactly what you're looking for. That's the signs you look for when the leopard's on a kill. They've got to go and drink at some point. And if they go to hunt, they've got to come back to the cub at some point. So these are sort of things that we look for, and at the same time listening. Just the other day, 2 days ago, we had alarm calls over here while we were looking in this exact spot, and the alarm calls revealed Mulwati, the big male leopard, who just bolted across the road in front of us here, but we weren't able to find him again because, well, he's not that relaxed. But we're also looking to capture a little nugget of Thandi's cub's poo, because by collecting it and handing it into Panthera, the research group, they're able to do DNA tests and tell us who the dad is. So we're excited to do that. Anyway, I won't be getting too close to the poo, but Trishala is getting close to watering holes. Let's see if she's found any animals.
I am getting close to the watering hole, and interestingly, there is a set of lion tracks around here. I'm going to show you one. Hopefully you'll be able to see it. It's for a female. There's one. They're not terribly fresh. And like Steve was explaining to you, it's important for the tracks to be on top of other tracks. Now, this one is on top of other tracks, but it's not on top of vehicle tracks because the vehicle tracks are on the side of it. And can you see that lots of debris has fallen into the track? It's not as fresh as it could be. I would say probably a day old or an evening at least. But there has been a lone lioness hanging about, so it could be her. Unfortunately, this does lead straight to our southern boundary, and if she did want to join the rest of the Nkuhumas, that would be the way to do it. It's been a while since someone drove here because there's just antelope walking all over the place. See, yeah. These tracks are not fresh. Oh well. Well, I'm here at Twin Dams now, so I'm going to go pop up onto the dam wall and we see what we can see there. And then I'm still trying to make my way to Chit, where I just get sidetracked by elephants and tracks. Did you see what I did there? Sidetracked by tracks. I know, you to see VK laughed. Hi, Felicity. We'd like to know how many different types of lions are there? There are different subspecies of lion. Subspecies is when you get a species, like a lion is a Panthera leo, and then you get other animals that are pretty much the same, but they may be a distinct population. So they're Panthera leo that only lives in Asia, or Panthera leo that only lives in North Africa. But it's the same species, they're just subspecies. And then we do get those types. So here we have Panthera, well, it's always going to be Panthera leo. But sometimes there's an extra bit added in the end, which tells you a different subpopulation or different population of the same animal that we call a subspecies, excuse me. There are about 3 subspecies, if I remember correctly. And there were subspecies that are now extinct as well. But mostly they are all the same, Panthera leo. Now, if you may have heard about a mountain lion is not a lion. It's just called that. Just like the family or group of cats called leopard cats are not leopards. The naming is just fun, isn't it? Oh, it's windy. Very, very windy and not much going on here at Treehouse Dam. Let's head out to Chitwa. That was my original plan, and that's what I felt good about, and I think it's actually a good time to hit Chitwa as well. Maybe we'll have a look at the junction there to see if the lioness crosses straight out. Oh, never mind, we're not going to be able to see that because I still can see old tracks of when the whole pride crossed in and out. So it's going to be difficult to tell. Like I said, those tracks were not were not very fresh, unfortunately.
Okay, welcome back. So we left that elephant as he walked into the trees there. Now we've been driving around looking. So we drove next to the river, hoping to see maybe some more elephants, buffalo, giraffe. We had tracks of a leopard, what we believed to have been the Inyala female, because it was quite a small track, definitely a female track, and that area is within her territory. But unfortunately, that did not go as planned. Like Tswalu's tracks, just not fresh, not really worth following. They could be very far away. So instead, we have come back towards the central parts. We're going to hit some nice big open areas. Have a look there with the weather being so hot for now. You know, we expect most of the animals to be off in the shade, so around the outskirts of a big clearing, because they still want to feed. So they'll be around the outskirts of a clearing, somewhat similar to where you're going to see us go now. And then, because in about, what's the time, 4 o'clock, give it another 40 minutes, 45 minutes, and sun starts to set, temperature drops a lot, and then you'll see a lot of those animals coming out into these open areas, trying to get the last little bit of warmth, like we saw with the lions this morning, sitting out in the open, just trying to warm up. So now the animals will be doing the same thing, because they know it's going to be a very cold night. Very cold night. If you have a look, you can see the sky. See not too many clouds happening, which means there's nothing to trap in the heat. So you've got a lot of heat that you're losing overnight, making it very, very cold for the animals. And yes, that is smoke in the distance. That is coming off of our eastern boundary. It's not on and beyond Ngala. But I believe it is a planned and controlled thing, not something we do. I don't know much about it. I just know that it is not on our reserve, which is good for us. But now, if some of you were watching many weeks back, okay, so we've got a question from Drifter. Now, Drifter wants to know, I think I have this correctly, if the same animal species react similarly in different weather systems. So it's I don't know if I understand the question. So Drifter, you know, lions here at Ambient Ngala will go through very similar, obviously, weather patterns to, say, the lions at Djuma or the lions at Tswalu. And any lions in South Africa will have very similar weather. You know, you might then have a difference in reactions between lions here and, let's say, lions in a reserve in maybe Tanzania or sort of Ethiopia or Kenya, where they might get, or India even, yes, where they got very different climates. Like, let's say India and South Africa, very, very different weather climates. So the animals, yeah, I would imagine they react differently. You know, to what extent, it's not like they're going to, you know, India gets very, very hot. It's not like they're going to shed their fur. It's not like in winter they're going to grow extra fur, anything like that. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so now we've been redefined on that question, Drifter. So we're going to use the elephants as an example. So we've got African elephants and you've got the Asian elephants. Now there's the elephants that live in India, and have they adapted over years different coping mechanisms for the weather? Now, for sure, you look at the African elephant, it's much, much darker. Skin's a lot grayer, where the sort of Asian Indian elephant, they got much sort of pinker skin. They've also got a bit more hair. I don't think the hair really helps, but they got that pinker skin here, with the African elephants much, much darker. There must be a reason for that. You know, there must be some sort of adaptive difference for that skin color. The ears also very, very different. You know, the African elephants, very big ears, they cool down with all of that. So definitely animals will adapt differences when you look at it like that with the elephants. Drifter, for sure. There's probably a lot more in depth that you can go in that. Unfortunately, I can't go there with you at the moment. I'll have to do some of my own research to go into the exact adaptations, or more adaptations than what I mentioned. But it's a very good question, Drifter. There's definitely things like that. So Robin, who's 7 years old, lions have such a big mane, even though they live in such a hot area. They have that big mane for two reasons. To one, attract females. A big mane makes the lion look very big, very strong, very dominating. So it makes it a bit easier to attract females who are looking for that. And it also can help in a fight. It provides a lot of protection around the neck area, around the throat and the back of the neck, which will protect the lion in a fight. It's also very close around the face. So, Robin, it's more for those reasons, not for, keeping them warm or something like that. It's a defensive thing and a look thing, make him look impressive for the females. That's why you'll see Rowan's growing his hair nice and long, trying to attract himself a female. Oh, okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to carry on down here. You can see very thick here, good for elephants, buffalo, hopefully a leopard. While we search here, we'll send you across to Taylor, who's got some very tall animals.
We've actually got more than 2 tall characters, but sure, that's a mouthful of words. We're actually with the same group of giraffe that we saw yesterday that were looking at something behind us. So I'm hoping that these giraffe are going to stare at something in the form of a lion sooner rather than later. While we were sitting with that ginormous elephant at Leopard Dam, a lioness snuck behind our vehicle and disappeared. We knew she was in the area. Obviously, we mentioned that. She was laying up under the tamboti trees. But now she's come in the direction of these giraffes. So we thought we'd sit on this side and just have a scan around and see if we can see anything. Because there's not just the giraffe here. There's also some zebra, there are warthogs and impala. They're all eating up in this area. It doesn't look very open right now because we've parked right in front of all the trees, but this is actually perfect hunting ground for a lion, and it's the perfect weather too. It's quite windy, and I think she's, just by looking at the direction that the wind is blowing the leaves, it looks like she's downwind of all the animals, which is good. So she could have a good opportunity. And it's interesting. It's just a young lioness that sort of lives on her own. We're not sure if she has got cubs. We're not sure why she lives on her own. It's quite bizarre. But let me reposition very quickly. Let's go on forward. Hornbill, are you going to sit there? I'd like to look at this hornbill. If it stays. Let's see. That's an even worse view. Let me go. No, he's not staying. Okay, fine, hornbill. We'll look at something else. No problem. So basically, we go down into a seep line, and there's this huge eroded drainage line here. And very nice for that lioness. She can just sort of sit and wait. We'll have one last look at the giraffe before they disappear. But essentially, where those giraffe are sort of walking now, they're going straight towards, like I said, this eroded section. And she can just sit and wait. And I saw it in Zambia quite a few times where the leopards there and the lions had actually used these natural depressions where water once powered through them, and will sit and wait for prey species to come to the edge of them, and they don't really have to do much stalking then. They just sort of sit and wait. So it's almost an energy efficient way of hunting and waiting, and then as soon as they come close to the edge, they burst out and surprise the animal. And a giraffe is no strange meal for a lion. One lioness on her own, a little bit on the tricky side. But there they go. They also might be going down to Leopard Dam now to have a drink. I'm going to try and reverse. I do apologize. I've just bumped into all the students doing their assessments. We're going to move out of this area. I think we'll probably not go that way. I shall turn us around. What I do want to go and do is, those vultures? If you did watch this morning's sunrise safari, I had some vultures sitting in trees, and then we had the vulture on the nest. It seems like further into the bushes, we didn't stay there for very long, but a little bit further in, a couple of 100 meters into that block, there was an impala kill. There was a carcass that was there. That must have happened yesterday afternoon, because vultures obviously don't fly around at nighttime, and we were there fairly early in the morning. I don't think they would have had enough time to find that carcass. So we think that the wild dogs are around. So I might change my plan. Let's head to the southeastern section of the reserve and see if we can't find those painted dogs. Off you go to Tswalu, who's at one of my favorite dams in the whole wide world.
Isn't it beautiful here at Tswalu? It certainly is. I hope that you do get excited because I have a good feeling for you and your wild dogs. Now here we have an African fish eagle. One of the most brilliant sounds of the bush when this guy calls. I hope that we'll be lucky to hear it. Now there was no hippos in sight when we arrived, and this fish eagle was dipping its feet in the water. And then a hippo popped its head up, and the fish eagle flew into the tree just a few seconds before you guys came to me. So I told the fish eagle, on all of your behalf, of course, that we would have loved to have seen you relaxing and taking a dip. It didn't respond, as you would imagine. Lots of sounds. You can hear Egyptian geese. Ooh, that was a hippo. Doesn't that sound like a car trying to start, an old car? That's an Egyptian goose. Hi, Grace. You'd like to know if a fish eagle is the same as a bald eagle? It is not. A bald eagle is from the Americas. A fish eagle is an African species. But, of course, you get many different types of eagles. I know that it kind of looks a little... Imagine why you would think so. But they are from different places. Now, a bald eagle is quite a large bird. It's about 6 kgs or so. And a fish eagle is about 2.5 kgs. There's a big size difference there. But they do look very, very similar. We call these groups of birds, eagles, accipiters, and they do fall into the same group. In fact, I think they're the same genus. Hyenas, I think they are. You can correct me, but I'm quite sure they're of the same genus. Hi, Bailey. You have asked me a question that I can talk about for hours. You would like to know if all birds have evolved from the pterodactyl. Bailey, strap yourself in. No birds evolved from pterodactyls. In fact, the word pterodactyl is not even really a true thing or not a true species. You're looking for the word pterosaur. Those are birds, dinosaurs that would fly. No birds originated from pterosaurs. All birds descend from small dinosaurs that eventually we're so lucky. Here comes its buddy. Oh. Oh. That could be the beginning of a new generation right there. Fish eagles mating. It's been bird mating a lot these days. But back to the question, all birds originate from small dinosaurs. And because of the way that naming works and taxonomy works, that's the way that we categorize animals, animals have to be put into the same category as their direct ancestors. So technically, birds are dinosaurs. And there's many things about birds, characteristics about birds that are almost identical to dinosaurs. The feathers, in fact, dinosaurs were also known to regulate their body temperature, so not reptiles in this, or not cold-blooded in the sense that reptiles are. But to some extent, they could control their body temperature. They most likely had feathers. And feathers evolved from scales. So that's another link to think about when you think about dinosaurs and birds. But it's important to note that birds did not evolve from pterosaurs or pterodactyls. Pterodactyl was just a word that was used when many dinosaur fossils were found. And there was no real differentiation, but it became this colloquial kind of term, a pseudo-scientific term almost, for flight, dinosaurs in flight. But pterosaurs would be the correct term. When I first learned this, I almost fainted. It was like my whole childhood was a lie. So we are looking at many different. We're seeing lots and lots of dinosaurs out here, actually. Kind of. Rebecca just gave me a really cool analogy. She asked if a pterodactyl is like saying an airplane but not saying SAA or Air France or whatever. It's kind of like, instead of saying an airplane, you say a thing that flies. So by saying a thing that flies, it could be an airplane, it could be a helicopter, it could be many different things. But because it's flying and it's from the period of the dinosaurs, the term pterodactyl was used. It's a very non-specific term. Safari lover. Oh, look at that. When I said safari lover, it's like the two lovers that are on this branch looked at each other longingly almost. You'd like to know if this bird actually migrates. Now, this is basically a common resident. We see it, and it's local. And they're largely sedentary. They stay in one area, and they don't need to migrate. To me, this Egyptian goose really sounds like an old car trying to start. Aww, you can't hear the goose. That's a shame. Because if I close my eyes and I listen to the goose, it was as if there's an old tractor on a farm. Like when a car doesn't have like the battery's dying. That's how it sounds. Don't they look so regal, perched on top of that tree, looking down at Chitwa Dam? They look like they have new gowns. Lisa, you'd like to know how big this bird is? It's about 2.5 kgs and about 60 to 70 centimeters tall. Males are slightly smaller than the females. But the size difference is not really noticeable if it's not up close. The females also have a slightly larger or broader breast patch. I want to get them little graduation caps. They look so awesome like this. They do. They look proud and satisfied and regal. I guess that's what happens when you've mated. Anyway, I'm going to send you over to Steve and see what he's accomplished for the day so far and whether he's feeling satisfied and regal too.
Thanks, Trish. I'm not sure if you're being cheeky or not, but we have accomplished not too much. We've done some searching. We heard some Franklin's alarm calling. And where's this bird? You hear it? Ooh, he's gone. There was a very nice white-browed robin chat, right-throated, I think, robin chat. See if we can get him for you. Do you see him, Davy? I can hear him. I think it is a white-throated robin chat. It's being very vocal. He's in the thickets. I can switch off. Maybe you can hear him. One of my favorite pastimes, birding. I think it's a white-browed scrub robin due to the habitat. White-throated robin chats are normally in only a set few habitats. Anjuma and the white-browed scrub robin, it's always got this very repetitive 3-note call, and they're almost impossible to see sometimes. But it's the repetitive. It might not be the same call that you hear, but very repetitive. One of the things I learned years ago, when in doubt, white-browed scrub robin. So we were searching for last place where Thandi and her cub went in and weren't able to find anything. Nothing's come out so far, but I mentioned there was some Franklins doing the little grrr, grrr, weird little, can't do it very well myself, and that normally indicates some form of a predator. So we tried to go in, but we were unlucky. So now we're going to go check a watering hole of our own. Rowan, you want to know how many different types of animals there are in our park? Well, with the varied locations that we're able to bring you, there's plenty more animals. Top food that we do have in common. Some are here today. And it looks like no one's home. Sorry about any technical glitch with you, everybody. We've got a little grebe. So casually cruising along the surface of the water. Now into the winter months, Kruger National Park implements lots of burns, lots of fires, and currently we can actually see it to the east, sort of the north there. Can you see it, Darby? Look at all the smoke. There's a big fire being burnt there. Controlled burn. Managers do these burns for ecological reasons. It's a natural part of the savanna system. Many of the plants have adapted to fire out here. And grebes just hang around the water. That's a good place to be. Keep you from getting burnt. And the hippos are gone. There was a whole family of hippos here the other day. But a good place to check. Those grebes are having an altercation there, Darby. Can you see? There we go. That's what you do when you're a submarine. Can't find him. Where's he gone? Obviously one is encroaching on the other one's patch. There we go. There's going to be an altercation between three of them now. There we go. They've got very big feet for paddling, and they're very good swimmers. Look at that. Under the water they go, and up again. Tex wants to know, will they ever fight to the death? Well, Tex, birds are equipped with some of the most remarkable tools that are quite deadly. Their beaks are quite sharp. Some of them have got claws. And, you know, if birds wanted to fight to the death, they easily could, but they generally don't. Many fights that you find out in nature generally aren't designed to go to the death. They're designed to pick a winner, and the loser moves off. But when certain contestants are very, very evenly matched in regards to mammals specifically, well, then their fight can often lead to injury, which can lead to death. But you don't often see birds getting to such a degree that they kill each other. They just shame the other one and dominate the other one, and then that seems to be the end of it. For the most part. Most birds actually determine their dominance through an amazing vocal song. Who can sing the loudest and the most notes. Some have very elaborate dances, so they do a bit of a dance-off. Look at that, looks so cool, eh? How much fun does that look like? Yo, it'd be a little grebe for a day. Jet-propelled feet, your own inboard motor. Lars and I have absolutely no idea. I suppose the correct answer would be fast enough. But their feet are very big, so you can imagine if you go swimming, the difference between your naked feet versus if you wear fins on your feet, how much faster you go by propelling. The same amount of energy in your foot pushes you forward, but the surface area of the feet is what pushes them. It's not necessarily the speed, but it's the surface area. That's just my guess. I've never seen an underwater image of little grebes throwing their feet around. But it's pretty quick, I'd say. But you can only go so quick. I don't think it can be like the cartoons where you see legs disappearing in a circle as they move in rapid succession. Oopsie, there he goes. The coolest game of Marco Polo I've ever seen. Darby, did you play Marco Polo as a kid? Of course. Those of you who don't know what Marco Polo is, it's a game you play in the water whereby everybody swims around and the person who's on has their eyes closed and they call Marco and you've got to call Polo and you've got to catch them. But most people keep their eyes open and cheat a little bit. It's very hard not to cheat. But a great game. Oopsie, these guys are experts. Experts at Marco Polo. Used to keep us in the pool all day long on school holidays. Very good. Well, I think we're going to be sending you straight over to Trish on Chitwa, who's at another watering hole, and she's got a magnificent antelope.
Now, this waterbuck I've seen out here on Chitwa before. You can see he's got very impressive horns, but he's also blind in one eye. That's the right eye there, can you see? It's very, very obvious. Hello, beauty. How are you doing with one blind eye? Very good, obviously, because he's healthy. Seen him around in my last stint. Maybe it is. Maybe you know Hukumuri? No? Oh, look at that. Now you can see really clearly. That's quite interesting. BK, next time he turns his head, let's try and get in closer to that eye if you can. No? Okay. Shh, hang on. Monkey's alarm calling nearby. Can you hear that? Cow, 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 cow. Let's go and have a look. Sorry, Guy, we're gonna have to just leave you. I'm so sorry, but you're beautiful. Sure. I'll see you again. That cloudiness that you see in his eye, that happens as a result of maybe an injury to the cornea, and then scar tissue begins to form. And also your eye does lots of gas exchange. So when there's an injury, the gas exchange can't happen as well, and then you get this cloudiness.
Sorry about that, everybody. Not quite sure what's happened with Trish there. We were just about to move off from the dam, but let's have another little look, shall we? These grebes are still having a real go at each other. Last year there were no grebes in this dam, And after the rain, this watering hole filled up. A grebe moved in very quickly. And since I've been back, I've noticed, I mean, how many? I've counted at least 6, 7 on this watering hole. All trying to dominate their patch. Have a look at this one's got something there, Darby. He's made a kill live on camera, everybody. He's got, what is that? It's a fish. Wowza. He caught himself a fish. He's obviously killed it. Now he's trying to swallow. Let's see if it happens. I have no idea what fish it is. Oh, it's a frog. I can't tell. Does it look like a fish or frog, Davy? I think it's got legs, eh? Looks like a frog. Poor little froggy. Oh, there we go. That's one thing I used to tell all my guides when I was training them, is there's only so much you can learn in a book, but the real experience is what you see. Now all of you out there know for a fact that little grebes eat frogs. Here we go. Don't have to go. Oh, look at that. I think this is a French grebe. Frog's legs. Still, no, that's a bit too big. Some of these frogs have actually got some chemicals on them that many birds, you'll actually notice, will try to wash off. The chemicals exuded, obviously, to prevent them from being killed or eaten. But birds take it to the next level and just rinse them. Just rinse your food before. Oh, here we go. Oh. That was a satisfying little open mouth at the end there, wasn't it? Now that goes into the crop, everybody. A little storage sort of unit below the throat, where birds keep their food before going into a gizzard. A gizzard is a muscular sort of chamber where the breakdown or the crushing of food happens. Bear in mind that birds don't have teeth. So they swallow their food whole, and many of them will have stones inside a muscular gizzard that has a muscular action of crushing and breaking the food before going in to the body for digestion. But the crop serves as another purpose, especially for feeding parents, in that they can store food there and take it back to the chicks, and they can regurgitate it whole for the chicks rather than regurgitating an organism filled with stomach acid. It's not essentially regurgitated, it's just being brought out of the pocket, the crop, which is just underneath the esophagus. So that frog is going to sit until it moves to the next chamber. Well, you saw it live here, everybody. Buffelshoek watering hole where the grebes are rampant, and the frogs had better beware. Don't forget, everybody, if you do have the time and the inclination, please feel free to go to the link below and help to support us so we can continue to bring you wonderful wild images from the African wilderness. Your support is greatly appreciated. We shall. Let's just absorb the noises and let Darby do his work. Dove wants to know if all the chicks are still here. Dove, I'm really not sure. A couple of the little grebes here look a little young, a little immature. I don't know how many chicks there were. James was very into his little grebes while I've been away. I don't know how many there were, but they've definitely multiplied. So a couple adults and there's a couple chicks having a really good time. And one at the bottom of the screen that just got under. It's very hard to really focus on any of them. A number of them are youngsters. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ah, I heard some ox pickers before. Do I need to turn around, Darby, or can I just move up here where they're behind us? Let's just go to the side over here. Eh? I heard some ox pickers a little while ago. I was looking around expectantly for some large bovid of some sort. Let me just turn around actually. Looks like a boy and a girl. It's romance is in the air today. No doubt there's well, that's 2 boys. That's definitely a girl, isn't it? Well, how about I get nice and low over here, Darby? Will this work for you? Nice low angle of the buffalo. Let us just set this up for you, everybody. Give us a moment. Water is the currency of life, so if you do hang around it long enough, animals will come to you. This is the head of a herd. There's more coming, so we're going to just sit here and wait. If you ever find females, I've only once found a single female with a group of boys. The rest of the time it's all about the boys on their own. For love, you want to know if there's any crocodiles in this dam? There have been in the past. I haven't seen any in my time, but crocodiles, we don't have the biggest crocodiles in Djuma. There's one big one that was around Vuetela Pan last time I was here that actually went, not Pan, watching all that actually went into the thickets and try to steal a kill from Kalamba and Hyenas. That was quite incredible. But I haven't, Darby, have you recall seeing any crocodiles here? Must be, eh? Not recently. They do come and go. Crocodiles feed on fish primarily, and this watering hole completely dried out 2 years in a row. So the immigration of fish into here is very limited. So a lot of people think of crocodiles as these massive meat eaters. Yes, they do eat meat, but they primarily feed on fish and smaller crocodiles. Here comes the herd. This is very exciting. I'm going to be quiet and allow you to absorb the noises of the ox pickers and the buffalo as they enter the water. Anushka, you want to know what diseases buffalo can get? They are carriers of bovine tuberculosis, naturally in the wild. There's potential for crossover of foot and mouth as well. There's actually a massive big disease corridor that separates the Kruger from the west to prevent wildlife and livestock interacting. Foot and mouth. There's actually big issues with buffalo in the southern reaches of Botswana because of foot and mouth. But they are natural carriers of bovine tuberculosis. Oh, hang on. Yeah, a little bit of privacy in the bush there. So the bovine TB is transferred to lions and leopards and scavengers. Also transferred via saliva. And the calves will get it from mum after suckling. This whole term of disease-free buffalo is essentially them breeding buffalo and removing the calf from the mother before it can suckle and then get the disease. Doesn't seem to really affect them too negatively, but it's the knock-on effects that they have for other animals that's a big problem. Obviously the rinderpest was a big thing that hit Africa in the late 1800s. It wiped out an enormous number of wildebeest and buffalo. Buffalo are in good numbers today. As you can see, a black mass of horned animals coming down to drink. You might be able to hear the oxpeckers up ahead. Very pleased to tell you that I've been looking at some of them and I've seen a few yellow-billed oxpeckers, which is a very good success story of the Endangered Wildlife Trust. Obviously, there's probably a wide variety of tick-borne diseases that buffalo can get. Can't think of any offhand. Sadly, no, they're not endangered. African buffalo the Cape buffalo, should I say, on the African continent are actually in good number. They, in certain parts of their range, they don't occur due to agriculture, but they are in very good numbers these days. Herds like this are a common occurrence around watering holes. 100, 200 buffalo. So a few of them being picked off by lions. Perfectly natural. Now that pushing and shoving that's going on is the reason why the older bulls leave. They just can't deal with the testosterone anymore, the pushing and shoving around. The younger upcoming bulls start dominating and getting very aggressive, and the old boys just move off and go retire, hang out with some old boys themselves, and slowly, one by one, they get removed by lions, a sort of natural selection in the population. Normal family structure, Rebecca's just whispered in my ear. Yeah. Requiring water at least twice a day. Hello, Tariq. There certainly is. There's a hierarchy or matriarchal society with the females. And they go from dominant to less dominant, and the less dominant is normally the old and the ones that have just been outplayed. And the leaders, females, will lead the way, the dominant ones, and then the bulls will have their own sort of system as well. They're constantly pushing each other around, and some of the young bulls will actually form little sort of almost coalitions, as it were. They've known each other since birth, and they've hung out together, and they'll move in and push other bulls out. So there'll definitely be a dominance between them as they push and shove. Typical sort of schoolyard scenario. But you've always got a group of boys in the front, at the back, and on the sides as a form of protection. Sort of herd mentality of buffalo is well established, as they've been hunted by lions for a very, very long time. Hence why both male and female have horns. Males for fighting, and the females for defending themselves and their offspring. So the weaker and older ones will always be at the back of the herd. You'll always be picking up the scraps when it comes to grass and grazing, as well as many of the bulls. It causes them to lose condition. You'll often find a group of males will move off from a herd, pushed off by a group of males that's already been away. Coming back in, they'll push a group of males away who've lost condition, because being in here, in amongst this mass, this press, requires energy. And if you're not getting the finest pickings of grazing, you're going to lose condition. And so boys that have been pushed out as a group will go off and feed by themselves, build up condition, and come back in strong and fit. There's a big bull compared to a girl. And then push out the boys again. And it's this constant in and out motion that secures the wonderful genetic sort of variability that the buffalo herds bring. But eventually that group of boys who gets pushed out is just like, oh, I'm done. I'm not going back to that mess. Krishna, that's a good question. I mean, the females are breeding, and so a lot of them will have offspring, and the offspring is probably about a 50% ratio. And it's probably, I don't know, I'm going to take a guess. I'm not actually certain what the ratio will be, but there's probably 60% females, 40% males. That's including youngsters, but I'm not 100% sure. I mean, if you look around, you'll see there's a lot of different types. Just there's a male on the left, female on the right, and then again a male just in the top corner and a female with their offspring. So when you look through a herd, you'll notice that there's an almost even proportion, but definitely swings towards the female side. Bearing in mind you get different age groups of males. And you get your yearling buffalo, and then 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. They only really start maturing, the males, after 6. They just hang around until then. Females mature a little bit earlier. They can breed a bit earlier than the boys. There's a last boy. That boy is in his prime. Look how he's got all full hair on the face and on the body. A beautiful boss on the top of the head compared to the female below him. Got that little bit of fur on the forehead there. Definite difference in horn structure. The boss is designed as a battering ram, as a helmet when they collide heads against other bulls. Females don't need to collide heads. They need the horns for smashing lions and any predator that's trying to do them harm or their youngster. And the bull can do both. He can bash a boy, and he can also take on any predators that threaten the herd there. Look, he's a little bit older. Can you see the fur on the body is a bit flecked around the eyes? He's probably not too far away, him and his cohort of males. You can see his shoulders a bit bony. Him and his cohort of males. There we go. That's happening. Pushing and shoving. Dove, the patches around the eyes is just fur being lost. It's like balding in males and humans, you know, just go a bit bald. They rub themselves a lot. They get itchy. They don't have fingers, and so they rub themselves against poles, against sticks, against anything they can, and so often that leads to hair loss, but also with age. The hair just doesn't regrow like it once did. and it's actually a good way of starting to age them. There's a nice big bull there with a little youngster who's being looked at. There's definitely some interest going on. The dominant bulls will be chasing the younger bulls around or the older bulls around and trying to access dominance, and there's been some mating going on. We saw that one scene. Any female that urinates, the dominant males will press to be around her, and if she's in season, they will make sure that they keep right close to her and don't allow any of the other males nearby. So it's a constant pushing and shoving. And that's what encourages the strengthening of the genes, of course. The strongest will always get the mating right. Obviously, every now and again, a weak individual will get an opportunity. Okay, very good. Well, quite apt that we're going to send you from these buffalo over to Ngala and beyond Ngala, who seem to have some lions.
Indeed we do. So we came back to those lions. They're starting to be a little bit active now. You can see this beautiful young female over here. Got her head up. All of them starting to lift up their heads, starting to do a little bit of grooming. Our timing was pretty perfect, if I say so myself. Because now it's starting to cool down. Just listen there, listen carefully. Of course it stops now, but there was an Impala alarm calling. Now it's obviously seen the lions, but you can see the lions are unbothered by that. You see that female's getting up there now on the left. There she is. So this is one of the old females. The sister of the one that's in charge. Look at the face. You can see quite an old face, black nose. What a beautiful lion nonetheless. So she's going to cross right in front of me. Just excuse my head. Interesting question from Kit and Bay asking why female lions, so lionesses, why don't they have manes? So if you remember for the question from earlier, again, I can't remember who asked it, but we were talking about why males have manes. So males have manes to be impressive for females and to help with fighting. So females don't need to impress themselves. Males are always impressed by a female. And then also the females do not fight as much as the males do. So there's our favourite guy. Sorry, I'll get back to the question. But you can see that, hey? Looking much, much better. He's walking a lot further. Look at his upper body. Still very healthy. His other legs still very, very healthy. Looks like he has eaten. He's been feeding with the rest of the pride. So he's looking in pretty good condition considering he can't pretty much use one of his legs. So everyone, I'm sure, is very happy to know that he is moving, he is walking, he is looking much better. And he is still around. But, yes, back to that. So, females, they don't really have a need for a mane, as we said. They don't need to impress the males. They just, get into estrus, and then the males are keen, regardless of how the female looks. And they don't fight as much as actively as male lions do. So, the mane, its two purposes don't really come into play for females. And you can see now, all of them lions being nocturnal animals, they're waiting for this cooler weather to start moving around. And I'm hoping that they're going to be quite active tonight. They're going to be walking. I haven't seen the two little ones. I've been looking around for them. I think their mother is further off to our left-hand side over there. We passed a couple on the way in here, but this is where most of them were. So I'm just trying to have a look around. We're obviously driving very carefully because we don't know exactly where. I think I might see one right through the bushes. A bit of a hard angle, but hopefully they'll get up and head out here. But we were just talking about how big some of these older cubs have gotten. I was here when they were born. I saw them when they were the size of these other two little ones. And it feels like it was just the other day that they were that size. And now you look at this one in the screen here, this little female. And I mean, they're almost 2 years old. They're like 1 year and 9, 1 year and 10 months. They've just grown so quickly. Grown so fast. But it's been so awesome to see those two just playing and cuddling there. See, it's not just the little ones that get wrestled. It's all of them. They're all very playful. We're talking about how social they are. So that one's a male. Now have a look there. Look at his mane starting to come through. So we got a question from, I think it's Pandy Bear, wanting to know why some female lions in Botswana have mange. Oh, that could be for any number of reasons. Most likely they... Oh, there comes another female. We'll get back to that question now, but this is the mother of the 2 young cubs. I just want to see if the cubs... the 2 young cubs follow her. So the question is, why do they have manes? Panda Bear, that is a phenomenal question. I have not seen these females. I do not know of any females there that have manes. I'd actually be quite interested. If you do have a picture or know where I can find one, if you could let me know so I could have a look and actually do some research into that. That would be very interesting to find out what their environmental stimulus was to There we go. So, Panda Bear, if you hashtag Wild Earth, then we can see the picture. But I'd love to have a look and do some reading into that. Because as you can see, none of our females here have any manes. So I'm not sure what in Botswana would prompt the development of manes in females. It'll be very interesting. That's what I love about this whole sort of interactive online thing is, we're reaching such a big audience with all of you viewers, and you ask some fascinating questions that, I wouldn't have thought of, or information that I didn't know before that I can then find out. Very, very cool. Have a look how big some of these ones are. I mean, it's crazy. So you can see a lot of them starting to get up now. There's been a lot of movement. Most of their heads are up. Yeah, you can imagine the mother there, she just gave a little snarl at this other youngster. She's probably had a tough day with all of her cubs running on top of her and biting her tail and her ear and climbing on her face. So she is a bit grumpy. So now, listen. So I don't know if you can hear that, but that's an impala. That's the one I was talking about earlier that has seen the lions, because now that the lions are up and they're moving, they obviously become a lot more visible than when they're lying flat in the grass. Well, there are impalas alarm calling, but you can see the lions are very unbothered by that. They're not trying to hunt the impala, so it doesn't matter if the impala have seen them. And they don't really, at the moment, worry about any potential other predators that those impalas could attract. So, question from Melissa wants to know, will the white lions be picked on more so by other predators or other members of the pride? Melissa, no. No, they won't. As I said, I've watched both of these white lions grow up, and they were not treated differently in any way by anybody. They were just seen as being part of the pride. It was perfectly normal. You must also remember that, yes, lions do see in color, but not the range or variety that we see. Their eyesight's more light-based, more movement-based, so they, have much better vision in seeing movement. They don't see in the wide variety of colors that we do, so they might not even see these lions, the white ones, as distinctive as we do. So I can hear the little cubs playing. They seem to be in front of us, other side of this bush, and I'm hoping they might come play with those ones in the screen now. Remember this morning they were playing with some of the older sort of youngsters, the older cubs. So I'm hoping they might come out. So you see the mothers watching. So in that direction, that's where I can hear them. I can't see them, but I can hear them. What we might do is, if they don't come out, is maybe move the car a little bit. See if we can get an angle. There's actually a lion sleeping behind us. So we are stuck here. We shall stay here and see if those youngsters come out towards us. But how amazing is it? So we are stuck amongst this whole pride of lions. And it sounds like Steve is stuck amongst a whole herd of buffalo. So we're going to send you over there to see how he's getting out.
Indeed, there's worse things to be stuck in, I suppose, than you can't move because of buffalo or lions. You know.
Must be so jolly.
But here we are with the herd, and this old gentleman here has been giving us a stare down for the longest time. You can hear them in the distance. Many of them have drunk and are slowly moving off. See what happens with this bull that's marching up to this boy. Definitely some of the older bulls hanging out here on this side, on the outskirts. Lions' strategy when hunting herds of buffalo is to try and isolate one. And if they are an old bull on the outskirts and he gets isolated, it's often the case that he gets left alone. See another older bull there, you can see by his face and the fur on the body. The nicks in the ears are another good sort of idea of age. Oh, one on the right dog, it can have a fight. He just said something very rude to him. All their mates. You can see there's a little bit of bromance there. Hello, dude. Magnificent specimens, aren't they? Like I was talking about before, they form a little bit of a bond with each other. They've known each other for a long time, and they will move off as a group of boys to form a group of Duggar boys. Till one by one they are removed from the population by the lions. The natural order of things, everybody. Here comes a little youngster on the left coming to see what the old boys are up to. Beck says they look a bit knock-kneed. Well, ruminants have to tuck their knees underneath themselves every single time they lie down to ruminate. And so that's exactly what's happened. These guys they're probably in the region of 10, maybe even 11. For 11 years, how many times a day have they gone down onto their knees and up again? It's going to take its toll, isn't it? This is the boy who was giving us the standoff before. I think he's trying to get down the hill for a drink, but has been thinking, oh, my poor knees. You know the story, the thing with youth is you don't really appreciate it when you're younger. You look at a flight of stairs and you do them 3 at a time. And you really appreciate that as the knees start to give out. Look at him, he's really struggling down there. Why didn't you just go down the lower side? I don't understand. Oh, here we go. A little bit of a foot spar. Okay. Well, while these boys push each other around, let's send you back over to and beyond Pinder, who seems to have some cats of their own.
And beyond Pinder Reserve. This is what you can see right behind me. Okay, so as you can see right behind me, we have a beautiful animals. As you can see, if it's been actually searching the whole afternoon. Finally, we just find them. At the moment, we have 3 of these animals around here. We must be like 4 further back. They must be still coming to follow these ones. So as you can see, like lying, rolling over, just very comfortable. If you take a look carefully, you can see how big the belly is. They must be eating something like midday or something like that. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, stay with us and see what they're going to be doing all along. Lovely, yeah. It's so nice to see them just lying like that. Lydia, the question is actually good from you, if I got your name right. So, Lydia, this is any time for lying. It is good. It's depending from the weather condition. If it's not very hot, if the lion need to hunt, they can hunt anytime. Like normally this afternoon like this, start getting nice and cooler. This is always nice. Most of the time you hear people talking about in the afternoon is a good time because it's a cooler time. Lydia. Look at it, looking up. Must be heard something which we didn't hear, but we'll see. It's that nice getting dark for them. Pretty cloudy tonight, but also it's very nice for them. It looks like it's going to be so much windy, but luckily it's not as much as you all thought. It's going to be maybe a bit later. Yeah, but it's going to be very dark. The moon is going to come a little bit later, but it won't be as bright as normal.
I think it's perfect hunting weather.
Yeah, for them. Yeah, for sure. As you can see right here, we got mother at one of the... Okay. So, how's it now? All right. If you look at these 3 lying right here, the middle one, that will be the mother of these 2 young males. As you can see, they start growing the mane on the side of the cheek, that's how you can tell are they males. So we're hoping another 2 more young males will still come in with other female. So we wanted to see if they're all going to come down. I know further back there's like a part of water. Maybe they're still on the way down here. It's unbelievable how much longer they can cover on the ground. Like last night, we were far from here, and they cover long distance overnight. Wonder what they caught that at, because it looks like they must be fed something. All right, so we'll stay with these animals and see what they're gonna ending up to. But while this land is still lying down like that, was send you to Sean and Tungala with some lion too. Sound like they're a bit active. Enjoy that.
Indeed, they are, Doomy. They are starting to get up. You just saw that one sit down. But believe me, they are starting to get up. This little female here that you can see, there was actually quite big already. But she was playing. Oh, just have a look now. Just pan a little bit left there, OD. Look at this little seed that's going to come into the screen. It's like the little white female is just bullying that young male cub. So that's the young male that's now being bitten. Oh, shame. Look at the little white female's biting him. Look, she's got a whole leg in her mouth. She's a bully. She's a bully. So you can see, but off screen, the little cub's mother is watching very closely. Shows he thinks it's okay. I mean, you can hear that young male, he's not complaining too loudly. See, the one's just got like a paw on his stomach. He's just holding him down. Oh, very kind of that female to move out of the way. Shame. It's like he's getting picked on. He's like the smallest one there, but he's fighting back. Look at that. He's got the other one in his paws. He's fighting back. But even like I mean, this is just fun play. You know, no one's being overly aggressive. They're not swiping. They're not really biting, actually. They're all just playing. Oh. Of course she's going to sit down in the way there. But this is what we've been watching. So the young female cub came and tried to play with... Oh, put his nose. Look at him. He survived. There's lots of comments saying, poor little cub. But I think it's not so bad, you know. It's all... Oh, look at that. You see, he's giving back. Oh, 2 swipes at the face there. And if he really was, you know, uncomfortable, didn't want to do it, he could just run to his mother. So I think he's actually enjoying it. You see, watch. I wouldn't be surprised now if he sort of climbed on one of their heads or tried to, you know, start attacking one of them. But you can see how it's all of the youngsters that are sort of up and active and doing things. You know, a lot of the adults, they are still fast asleep. And there's only one female with her head up. All the rest are sleeping. But the cubs, you can see, getting very active now. They've been sleeping the whole day. They've obviously got a bit more energy because they're younger, they're smaller, that sort of thing. So they wake up a little bit earlier, do a little bit more activity. That's the most that female has done. Just lift up her leg and then drop it again. The young white one's now going to go for the young female cub. After she bullied the male cub, she's now going to try her luck with the female. See, the female, as we saw this morning, a lot more feisty. You know, which actually suits them, both of them. When that young female, the young white one, was that size, she was also feisty and fighting everybody. It's like she's trying to train that one to be like her. It's so amazing that we get to sit here and watch this. Spend 20, 40 minutes here. Kit, the white ones will interact more. It's evenly balanced around the pride. So Kit's question was, do the white ones interact more with each other than with the other, what we call tawny lions? And Kit, no, they will play with everyone equally. I'm trying to think. It's probably, there's obviously more tawny ones, so the white ones will fight with them or play with them more. But I've seen them play with each other a number of times, but more so with the other lions. But look at that, you got this 2 females fighting. OD, just scan a little bit to the left there. Then you can see that young male is attacking the other older lion there. So both cubs are getting very, very playful now But a kit, no. So those white ones, they will play with anybody. They don't really mind, especially the young female. She will attack other youngsters, females, that young sub-adult male that we like, the Ross male. She just fights anybody. Doesn't matter about color. Whatever looks entertaining for her. You know, if one of the other cubs or youngsters picks up a stick, she'll go and play with that stick. If another one picks up elephant dung, she'll go play with the elephant dung. It's very easy going. So now they're attacking each other. So we've got a question from Lottie asking if the cubs are teething. Lottie, I'm unsure. You know, it's hard to say. Yeah, so they are biting things. I mean, we did see them eating meat the other day. So they are there. You could see the one was attacking the little piece of branch there. So I would hazard a guess and say yes. But as I said, that would be a guess. I have seen them, I mean, especially that female, she chews a lot of things. So it could be indeed that they are indeed teething. Now it's just... They are adorable. They are adorable. And it's actually been very interesting for me to watch how the interactions have developed between such young cubs and then the older ones. You know, we were worried that something like this, you know, just picking it up, something like this could be quite dangerous for the younger cubs, especially those older ones. These are the first young cubs that they've seen, and they might injure them mistakenly, but they might have, where they've actually approached them very gently, very fragilely, very carefully. I mean, it looks hard to us, but for the lions it's really not. It's very gentle, and even the cubs are giving back what they're getting. It's been so awesome to see that sort of assimilation into the pride. Now you can't see, but the mother of the cubs has just got up and she's watching. She's not coming close, she's just watching. Oh, now she's coming. But not with any sort of aggression. So there she is entering screen on the left. See how the cubs just stopped. those other youngsters just stopped what they were doing. No, don't go to the toilet right there. Well, viewers, don't worry. The good thing in the wind is blowing the other way. So there's a good chance that we can stay here without being smelled out. If the wind was blowing at us, we would have to leave because, as you know, it is not a pleasant experience. But it was very cool to see how quickly that white female and the other female sort of left the cubs alone and just sort of sat down and waited to see what the mother was going to do. And now only the white one sort of playing again. I think they're still a little bit scared of the mother. See what she does. And she's just checking up on them. So that white one, that young white female, just stopped everything. Okay, just listen now to the noises. So I don't know if you could hear that, but the mother was making these small little moans, just communicating with the cubs. Very, very soft little moans. The one cub was reacting. And I'll say, I'm going to say, for me, the noises Becky, that is a very good question. So Becky wants to know if a sub-adult female will play with the cubs more than a sub-adult male as a way to try and practice for cubs. Now, Becky, I can't give you a definitive answer. We don't have that situation in this pride. So the sub-adult female is the mother, so obviously she interacts with them, and the only other sub-adult is the male. I have seen him play with the cubs. The cubs were playing with him earlier this morning, so I would say no. Sub-adult females will not play with the cubs as a means to learn how to have cubs. That would be my first guess, because I haven't seen that though. Guys, we're just letting you know, OD is going to put the camera into infrared now because it's getting quite a bit darker. So that's what happened there, that change. Like you can see there now, I mean, we've had male cubs playing with the male youngsters playing with the little cubs, Becky. So it would be interesting to see in a different pride that had both sub-adult males and sub-adult females to see, but I would say there won't be a difference in terms of playing with the cubs themselves. And for those of you that sent the articles about the lionesses with manes, thank you very much. I will go and have a read of them tonight. But you see now, as I said, it's getting much darker, which is, you know, the perfect time for these lions to start getting active. I know Doomy answered a question about when the best time to hunt is for these lions, and I would imagine he said at night, and that's exactly why we're getting this sort of activity now, because it is getting darker and these lions are getting ready to get up and hunt and move. So what we're going to do, we're going to stay here for a little bit longer. In the meantime though, we're going to send you across to Taylor in the Pridelands.
Sorry we've been gone for so long, but I'll tell you why and what we've been doing. But at the moment we're looking at a squirrel. It is just taking in the last of the light or patching the sunset before it disappears into its little cabin for the night. There were 3 that were huddled up with one another, keeping nice and warm. I think that might be the male, if I'm not mistaken. When we had a closer look, I could see his rear end, and, well, rodents typically have a rather large set of scrotum. There's a little head poking out. Just if you go down a little bit more. A little bit. There we go. Which is very, so he might have had his, but they've all entered into this knob thorn now. We go. It was like they are looking a little bit tired. Their eyes are growing very heavy. Isn't that pretty though? Also here, all the birds chirping for one last time. Making low. Very nice to hear them. Right. I'm going to send you back across to the lions that are now beginning. Excuse me.
So you can see here, we were just discussing, because these cubs are blending in so well with the grass. You were struggling to find them on the camera. I mean, like there you can see there's a young cub in there that you just can't see. It's blending in there. It's incredible. But we were discussing, while you guys were away with Taylor, that white female is pretty much just going for that young male's tail, the cub's tail. And she's got a fascination with his hairless tail. Oh. I don't know if you heard that. There was a bit of a growl from one of the cubs. I think that's the little white female. I think she forgets sometimes. And she gets a bit rough. I mean, you saw when she came into the screen earlier, she had the tail in her mouth and she was just trying to ankle tap the cub as it walked. She's being a bit of a bully. But you can see, as I was saying in the last, when you were with me, is that it is getting dark. So we'll probably spend maybe another 3 minutes here. And then we will have to leave them. Let them do their thing for the night. And you can see a number of them now, even the adults, starting to lift their heads starting to show a bit of movement. If I sit down and Odie, you look on the right hand side here, you can see there's some females making their way back. And there's one female, she's now up making her way back here. Most of the older females are off on the left hand side here, so I think these younger ones might be coming across, maybe just to do a greeting and make a plan for the night. You know, they're going to see, like, you know, what are we going to do? We're going to go find water, we're going to go hunt, we're going to just move. They're going to do something. Looks like she actually just stopped right inside there. And you can see there's some females on the left there, yeah, that are now looking in her direction. You know, they're all just getting curious now. Oh, look in the tree, look in the tree. Look at the little cub in the tree. That is adorable. Look, he's a tree climbing lion. So that's the young male. You can see his tail. Look, very funny. Let's see how he gets down from there. If he climbs down or if he just falls out. Imagine he jumps onto the white female's head. Oh, that would be hilarious. Oh, he's slipping. Slipping. He's like, Mom, help me. This is a bad choice. He's actually done pretty well. He looks so confused now. I think he's going to fall out of the tree. Oh, she's going to get pushed out of the tree. Oh. That was awesome. That was very cool. Very special to see that. Another one was going to be like, this is how you meant to do it. Okay? But I think on that fantastic note, awesome little lion cub in a tree, we are going to leave them. We're going to let them get up to whatever they're going to do and see what other animals we can find. While we do that though, while we make our way out, we're going to send you back across to Dumi and his lions at and beyond Pinda.
Welcome back, everyone. We are still here with these 3 lions, as you can see right here. This is actually our mountain pride. We're still missing 4 of them. They're not around. So, as you can see, they're lying very flat, and they don't even pay any attention for us being around next to them because they are full tummy. So we'll wait and see what is going on, what's going to happen. So, as you can see, right, 2 of them facing different ways. One is facing the other way, which is good for the way they're lying down. Anything move, they can pick it up quite quickly, so they can all reaction. They're still waiting for the other. Anushka, I hope I got your name right, Anushka. This is we call it a mountain pride. If you look, it's too dark now, you won't be able to see, but behind this line will be like a big mountain, and that's why we call it a mountain pride, because they live around this area of the mountain. Anushka, this is a mountain pride. quite a bit small flies actually still disturbing them. Yizo, if I got that name right, we have actually 4 different pride in Penda. All right, doesn't look like they're gonna go anywhere. These lines, as you can see, they're lying flat completely. We're gonna let you cross to Charlotte. Enjoy that. Otherwise, have a good evening, everyone.
How is it? I was spotlighting. I was so sure that there was a cat on Chitwa just waiting to be found with the alarm calls from the monkeys. But I found nothing, and I searched high and low. Not even any tracks. You are now looking at a scene of where a duiker was. I promise. It's actually near the Shibama Road den, old hyena den, which is reminding me that I didn't spend any time at the den today. But I think tomorrow will have to be dedicated to the hyena den, at least some part of it, if I don't get distracted by tracks and alarm calls, etc. So you're staring at that patch in the hope that the duiker will come out. I've seen it here many times, but as you know, they are quite skittish. Okay. We would like to go into infrared. If nobody minds, any objections? No, then please, may we? Ta-da! There we go. Well, the bush is quite silent. But that's not what I want. I want a bit of commotion, some growls, some sawing, some roaring, alarm calls, whatever it may be, whooping. That's what I want to hear. It's true. We can't always get what we want. I was feeling a bit disheartened because I just felt this presence of a cat on Chitwa, and I was so disappointed that I could not find her. I think it is a her. I don't think it's Subui or Kuchava. Or it's just my own spidey feelings, just doing its own thing. Well, I'm going to head up southwards. Northwards. I'm just in the south. And now I'm just going to throw my bones and say maybe Hukumuri. Make our way north via Zoe's and just see what happens. Anyway, let me send you over to Steve, see what his plans are for the last few minutes of drive. 20 minutes, actually.
Back, everybody, to the darkness of Juma. Now, there is still some wonderful colours in the west, and we're going to stop in a moment to hopefully show you what wonderful oranges. Oh, there's a Janet. There's a genet. Or is it a wildcat? He's gone. Oh my word, he's gone. I think it was a genet. Genets are not often seen very relaxed, everybody. I do apologize that you didn't see it, did you, Davy? No. Well, that happens. They're very fleet-footed. I saw it. But I wasn't sure if it was a large or a small spotted. And he's gone. One of the wonderful nocturnal animals that we see out here, who's now vanished. So are we going to stop at this tree, Davy, or where would you like me to stop? Tell me when. Okay, so we're going to stay in colour, Bex, if that's all right, and we're going to show you a wonderful image of the orange sky fading away in the distance. And I'm going to allow you all to just have a moment to breathe. Something has just moved.
I think it's Impala.
Sorry about my zip being undone there and ruining your moment. Doesn't sound like Impala, Davy.
Can go into IR. Infrared.
Bex, we're going to go into infrared when you are ready, please. And then we're going to see if we can find whatever animal this is. Okay, and there we go. Into infrared we go. We're just going to move up here and find what animal. Oh. Davy was right. Some males busy hitting horns. That's the noises we heard. Almost sounded like a scratching sort of sound, like a possibly claws on some wood. But obviously the wood that we heard was impala horns. These males are still coming out of the rutting season. Their testosterone levels are still quite elevated. They are not friends. Okay, herding each other around. I reckon an impala male would make a very good sheepdog. Their herding abilities. Maybe not as obedient as a sheepdog, but they'd still be able to herd. I saw a video recently of someone with a warthog that was herding sheep, which was quite comical. Did you see that, Davy? Warthog running around herding sheep. Only in South Africa, everybody. And I must say the sheep obeyed. These moments of silence are twofold. One is to just enjoy the images, and the other one is actually pay attention to any sounds that the night might be providing. Lions or leopards, owls, can actually hear the distant call of a white-faced scops owl. I'm not going to mimic it right now because I don't think I'm going to do it justice. It's too far for you to have picked up. Okay, so let's go down the hill. Fortunately, we did manage to get that genet for you. Sometimes genets are a hit or miss. Hello, Jason. That's a good question. Jason wants to know, everybody, what would I do to survive at night? Well, Jason, I'm guessing I don't have a torch. That's what you're probably adding that to my lack of having. But the thing is, Jason, is I always have a torch, so you wouldn't catch me there. And I always have a belt. And if need be, I would just climb a suitable tree and I would attach myself to the tree using my belt and I'd fall asleep. If I didn't know where I was going and I didn't have a torch, I would attach myself to a tree and try and fall asleep there. If I had a torch, I'd probably walk home if I knew where to go. For the most part, animals out here have got changes of behavior at night, but if you can see them early enough, you can respond to that behavior. You don't have to run into a pride of lions at night. If you see them with your torch, you can do something to avoid any negative behavior, but obviously not ideal. So climbing up into a nice comfortable tree, and the reason I'd use the belt is so that I could fall asleep and not fall out, because I'm no monkey. Although I am born in the year of the monkey and have been called a monkey many times, I'm not a real monkey. So holding onto precariously onto a tree is not my forte. So a belt keep me there, and then when dawn approaches, then I'd probably make my way home. Hope that answers your question, but always have a torch just in case. So some of you are asking, but what about leopards? Well, I don't really have an issue with leopards at night. Leopards don't see us for the most part as prey, and it's the same as lions. You just have to react to their behavior if you see them. I don't foresee a leopard finding me in a tree and going, whoa, this is the easiest meal of my life, it's already hoisted. I don't see that happening, but you know, there is a risk there, of course. I've slept out in the wilderness many times, and the biggest issue is actually hyena. None of the others are really a big issue. It's hyena. You need someone to be awake to prevent the hyena coming and licking or eating your face. Lions generally don't cause any trouble. I know some friends who are sleeping on the Limpopo River, and a leopard ran into their sleeping circle and killed a bushbuck. And then obviously the guy who had the torch freaked out a bit, and the leopard got a bit scared and then ran away, and the bushbuck was dead right there in front of him. So he woke the instructor, and the instructor went and pulled the bushbuck a bit further away, and the leopard came back and got it. So they don't really see us as food. So sleeping out is okay. But I'd mainly do that because I wouldn't be able, the hyenas here would find me in 20 minutes. And they'd probably lick me or bite my face, and no thanks. The hyenas would be the biggest worry. Hope that answers your question. Okay, well, let's go over to Trish, ask her the same question.
Go ahead. How would I survive a night in the bush? Okay. Do I have supplies? I do apologize for Rusty's hum. She has a steady hum. You might be able to hear it. Do I have supplies? All right. Okay, I can choose two things. I'll choose a car, and then I'll sleep in it, because I found you a chameleon instead. No, I'd probably climb a tree, guys, and just stay in it as best as I could. And then I'd take... and a torch would be a good idea, and some food, because I don't want to be grumpy. No, BK? No? Okay. Chameleons are out and about today, which is quite nice. Oh, that's a nice view. It's a little far, but that's nice. Yes, can we please go into color so we can see how beautiful our chameleon is? Nice big ones too, from last night to today. Yeah. So it's higher, just don't light directly on them. Just you go. In the middle. There we go. I love when you direct your cameraman and they're in the right place but they actually can't see the chameleon yet. I find it very amusing. This has been a good run. We've had 3 in the last 24 hours. The 2 from this morning were the... where the chameleons have a tapetum lucidum. That is the iridescent layer of cells behind its eye on the retina. And now you can kind of see, that reflective bit. Now obviously they have a really tiny pinhole kind of area that can let in light. And they have a fused eyelid around that tiny little pinhole of a pupil. So it can be more difficult to see, but at this angle you can see the eye shine. I'm so happy with the amount of friends I'm making these last few days. Now I'm keeping note of where all the chameleons are. I love showing them to the kids. Kids find them super, super interesting. A little bit weird. Weird and wonderful. I love everything weird and wonderful. I think he thinks if he's just doesn't move one bit, I'll go away. It's important when spotlighting any animal, really, to not spotlight directly on them. So I'm spotlighting on the ground. BK will show you. That's where I'm pointing my spotlight, down there. And I'm using the light that bounces off. Lower. Yep, it's at the bottom of your screen now. In the center. There we go. You're amusing me twice in one chameleon sighting, BK. They look so tightly wrapped. I love it. Well, this guy, or gal, will need to get some sleep. Hopefully it's a safe one. And I'd love to visit all 3 chameleons in one day. Oh, I shall love them so much. I'm even wearing my chameleon ring today. That's also an important reason not to flash them in the eye with your strong light. Because animals that are diurnal have eyes that are especially adjusted to be able to work best during the day. If you're flashing light in their eyes when their eyes have already started to kind of switch over from using their cones mostly during the daylight to using their rods in the evening, and you flash light at them, it can kind of disrupt chemical reactions with the rhodopsin in the eye. I mean, that's not true for a burst of light suddenly, but a sustained flash on the eye of an animal can disrupt how good its vision is afterwards for a period of time, because then the eyes will have to basically readjust. So we don't want that to happen to this one. Although this one's eyes will be closed soon and it will be nicely asleep for the night. Oh, stuck in bed. You say I found 3. How many chameleons do I think on Juma in total? I will have to read about this again, but I do think that the density of chameleons was something like 8 per kilometer squared. But I'm not sure if it was for this area. So I'd say 80 chameleons, maybe even 100 chameleons on Juma. Oh, could it be all waiting for me to be found? Of course, I think that density is a reflection of probably best resources, good years of rains, etc. But also, considering how difficult it is to find them, why wouldn't there be 100 chameleons on Juma? And they're also territorial, so having a study where we could drop pins at every location that we find a chameleon, I think would be a valuable one. You can collect all sorts of data. I don't think 100 is bad at all. I don't think it's a bad estimate at all. Considering their territories are so tiny, it could only be, 5 meters squared. I think we need to all go out and find the 100 chameleons. What do you say? I say so. So tomorrow's mission, go to the den and find 100 chameleons. Hope you're prepared. So I'll see you tomorrow morning. Have a good evening, everyone, and thank you for your questions and your comments. Bye for now.